This SUV should have been a superstar, as it combines the talents of a chassis from Land Rover, a diesel engine from Fiat, and it wears the ultimate name around, Safari. Instead, it got 5 minutes of fame. As the competition made other plans, it just raised the bar and sent the Safari scurrying to play catch up. This cycle repeated as more and better prepared 7-seat options hit the market. But with every update and special edition the Safari got, like with this maroon edition, it got more complete. But has it raised the bar now? Not quite, but it has a trump card, and we'll get to that later. They should have called this the Gravitas or the Buzzard, because the Safari needs to be tall and stately, which this couldn't because of the Discovery Sport platform that it was built on, which also decided how big the Safari could be. And today, in the company of other 7-seat offerings in its price range, the Safari will not look towering. From the rear, it looks different from the Harrier. The upcoming facelift should give it a distinct identity from the front as well. It should also smooth out lines around the headlamp for the roof rails and the window lines, which this dark edition does a great job of masking. In fact, full props to Tata for blacking everything out. It gives it a cool, sinister vibe. There are splashes of red on the outside, while on the inside, it's the red that dominates. It's the right shade of red for leather. Tasteful. The real reason to get the Safari are these captain seats. They are just so right. The cushioning, the adjustability, how high you sit, the amount of space on offer, it's the mood it creates. You'll want to go out and see the world from here. And they are a bit more supportive than the bench seats, so they're better. And did I mention they're ventilated? That's a big win. And that's setting the bar. If you had to spend time in the third row as an adult, I would be fine for short journeys. For longer stints, well, I wouldn't complain about the creature comforts there. As for the boot space with 3 rows up or down is decent. And at the other end of the cabin, the front seats, both of them are powered. It makes it easier for you to get in or out. The dashboard has a new steely finish, which doesn't quite vibe with this because it feels plasticky. But the big update here, the first of 2, is the touchscreen infotainment system. It's wide and short, so it seems small, but it is fast and responsive to use. The same can be said for the driver's digital instrument cluster, but there are strange bits. The color theme for the user interface seems to suggest it was made for the Safari Gold Edition. The red dark should have had its own theme. Well, you could look past this, but the 360-degree camera on our car, the front cam, is distorted. A trip to the workshop for an update should fix that. As for the music system, that's fantastic. It always has been and is so today, which isn't something you would have said for the OG. The original Safari's magic was on the highway. In this, you don't sit as high up and as commanding. It's not as soothing, but it makes kilometers and hours disappear. In the city, it's way better. It actually feels light and quite car-like to steer. That's because the suspension is tuned a bit on the firmer side. The trade-off is that it feels a bit jittery at times, a compromise that I would happily live with. The engine and gearbox are smooth, quick, and make this great for city and highway use. So to drive this Safari is an impressive SUV. But there are signs of age. The Fiat Source diesel engine doesn't feel as smooth, quiet, or punchy as modern diesels. And the hydraulic steering, it feels heavy at low speeds and light at high speeds. It is old tech. But there is new tech, which brings us to the ADAS safety tech. Now, for most cars in India, this is going to be a high novelty and low utility feature because chances are users will end up turning the systems off as they get annoying. Take collision mitigation braking, which is basically emergency braking by the autonomous system to avoid an accident. on the Safari, it keeps you guessing whether it's detected the vehicle up front, and then it brakes late and hard. It also misses out on some of the coolest features or gimmicks of ADAS. It has lane departure warning, but it doesn't have lane keep assist, which would steer and keep it centered in your lane, because it doesn't have an electric power steering, which the computers could control. It doesn't have adaptive cruise control, which would let it slow down for a slow vehicle up front, even while in cruise control mode. And as for the blind spot warning and the auto high beam assist, those are helpful. But if you're planning to buy a Safari, the ADAS tech isn't a must-have for us. But the Safari isn't setting the bar today. And as we look to the future, you can see that it is being held back. That platform came from Ford to JLR and is near 15 years old and isn't going to help the Safari ace those crash tests. That engine is starting to show its age. Its features need better finesse and execution. And as we look to Tata to go out to the world, consistency in quality has to be nailed down. And some of you may have noticed that lights on one side of the Safari died out at some point in the review. This shouldn't be happening. But many of us will look past it because of the appeal of the Safari. But that isn't the trump card. Today, it's convenience of not having a long waiting period. Because if you've made up your mind to buy a 7-seat SUV today, that might be just what you need to hear to take a call. And if you have picked a Safari over a Carens, an Innova, an XUV or a Scorpio N, do let us know in the comments what tipped your hand. Was it the waiting period or was it something else? Thank you so much for watching, and we'd love to hear from you.